Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm sure by now you've probably heard of Procreate Dreams, a brand new animation app by the creators of Procreate. It's been in the works for a while now, but it finally released yesterday. So today, I'm going to be showing you my first impressions of Procreate Dreams and what I think of it overall. Enjoy! When I first opened the app and started drawing, I was very confused because adding new frames, to me at least, looked like adding another track. So I spent a few minutes, embarrassingly enough, trying to figure out what I was doing wrong when I was actually just doing it right. The second thing is though, it was pretty confusing to try and figure out where the onion skins are once you do start animating, because I'd argue that onion skins are one of, if not the most important feature for digital animation and just animating in general. And if you can't find that, it's basically impossible. I spent a while trying to figure out where the onion skins were so I could actually animate, because, I really wouldn't enjoy animation if onion skins weren't an option. It turns out the onion skins are here. The little time icon that tells you how many seconds you're in to the animation is what you click on to access the onion skins. Why would they do this? I spent so long looking for the onion skins that I had to look up a tutorial, which I was upset about in the end because I was trying to do this blind so that I'd be able to see if it really was beginner friendly, but I had to look it up. And they're in the corner for no reason. I really don't understand why they did this, but at least I found them, and hopefully if you're looking for them as well, this helped you out. The next thing I'd like to point out is that it wouldn't stop crashing. The entire time I was animating, it would crash non-stop. I didn't mind it too much because I was enjoying myself animating. That's one good thing about this app. But it wouldn't stop crashing. After the incidents with the onion skin and the frames, it's mostly like any other 2D animation app. It's easy to use and the brushes feel nice, so I will give it that. Procreate Dreams is very fun to use. It's just a bit complicated when you try and figure out what's going on at first. Much like Procreate, with all its menus and hidden features that are hidden away for practically no reason. I understand they want as much space for drawing as possible, and I don't have a problem with that. I just wish that they would make things easier to find. I have no problem with the menus being off to one side, but if you have to tap on a bunch of random buttons to get to them that make zero sense, like some sort of indie horror game, doesn't really feel very practical. And I'd almost rather have a bunch of bulky menus with everything being easier to find but less space to draw than being so confused I can barely animate. The next thing I tried was keyframes. Keyframes were actually a lot easier to figure out. The only thing I kind of struggled with was figuring out how to group the frames together so that I could get an animation on all of them while they moved. This is a really nice feature, but I wish you could still add to the individual frames afterwards. You might be able to, but I'm not really sure yet. Now that the test animation is done, it's time for me to do something a little bit more complicated so that I can really test the features now that I know how to use them. I wanted to do a magical girl transformation because those are very complex and use fluid movements that look really nice in the end. I was hoping to use Procreate Dreams for this because I could animate the individual movements and then kind of make them move around the screen the way that magical girl animations do. I wanted her hands to come up in a sort of fighting stance, and before I did this I was a little bit nervous because I realized that I kind of can't really copy and paste in Procreate Dreams. I don't know how to select a certain part and move it, and I'm pretty sure you just can't, which would really be terrible news if you can't, because, selecting a certain part and moving it would be really great to have in animation. And I know that you can do this if you have all the parts on different tracks, but I sometimes just don't want to do that in frame by frame. And I wish I could just have one layer and then select different portions. Thankfully though, the hand movement came out okay. The next step was to animate her head turning. I was a bit nervous nervous about this part, but to be fair, it's just hard for me in general. But I am pretty happy with how it turned out. The goal for the head turning was so that she could turn it onto the side to show her hair, and then it would magically turn into pigtails with the power of animation. Although I struggled a little bit at first, that was on me, not on Procreate Dreams. Though I will point out the onion skins are kind of strange. I don't really know how to describe it, but the opacities of the onion skins are all very similar. You know, normally they get fainter and fainter as the frames get farther away, so you know which frame is the closest. But for Procreate Dreams, you do kind of have to look closely a little bit to be able to tell sometimes. I just wish they were a little bit more different, because it would have been easier to kind of draw the head turning. This is when I was starting to animate the hair magically getting put into pigtails. There's not really much else to say about this, but it was pretty fun to animate. When it was time to animate her turning her head the other direction, I decided to do something else instead of having to redraw her face and all of the different angles again, which would have been annoying, but instead I just traced over the previous one and then flipped it and then drew the rest of the frame, which was a lot more convenient and a lot easier. So I was pretty excited about that, because it meant I had to do less work. Then after doing that, I kind of just did it again, which was nice because I really didn't feel like drawing the face going in two different directions twice. So I don't know how animators do it. I really don't. I'd definitely lose motivation very quickly if I was working on a show or something. The next thing I did was kind of duplicate the first few frames and change the expressions, because I wanted her to do that same gesture again with the arms, but I didn't want to have to redraw it. And Procreate Dreams is good with duplicating frames and copy and pasting. At first I thought that you had to kind of move it down and then copy it to avoid having to move all the frames back after moving the second one out. But then I realized you can just copy and paste instead of duplicate. So that was more convenient, definitely. The next thing I did was try and have her little force field come up, because I was really getting tired and I didn't think that I'd be able to finish the video in time if I just had her do the complete transformation, you know, one scene for arms, one scene for legs. So I decided to have her use a power of sorts to have this force field come up, and then when the force field disappears, she's fully dressed. I know it sounds like a lazy shortcut, but I really needed to get the video out, so hopefully you guys can forgive me. And I'm planning on finishing the animation a bit later, so you guys will get the full version. For the force field, I just made a separate layer across all the frames so that I could kind of animate it coming in without having to worry about messing up the first layer with her on it in case I wanted to do something different. And it did work very well. The layer system is nice, but you can't really do much with the layers, which kind of confuses me. You know, I can't use clipping mask, I can't merge layers. There aren't a lot of features when it comes to the layers. With Procreate you can do a lot more, but with Procreate Dreams all you can do is kind of just have the layers. You can't really do anything with them. You change the blending mode, you change the opacity, and that's it. Once I was done with the force field, all I had to do was use the keyframes to move it around the way I wanted, just like a magical girl transformation. However, I didn't really know how to do this, and it was a bit difficult to figure out how to use the keyframes, but I did figure it out eventually, and it came out pretty okay. Now that I'm done with the animation, it's time for my final thoughts. Overall, Procreate Dreams is a great animation app. although it's a little bit difficult to figure out at first, since there are a few hidden things or things that don't really make much sense. Once you get the hang of it, it is very easy and very fun to use, and I enjoy animating with it a lot. Procreate Dreams is great, it's fun, it's efficient, and it's overall just a really good app. I think the only thing that could improve it would be a video tutorial in the beginning of the app showing you how to use it. Although, since there isn't a tutorial at the beginning, I guess you'll just have to go on YouTube and search for someone to explain to you where some things are and what they thought of it. Such a shame. I wonder who you'd look for. All joking aside, Procreate Dreams is really great, and I do recommend it a lot. It's a very great app, and it's very simple and easy to use once you get past those few hurdles in the beginning. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Here's how the animation came out in the end. Thank you!